Hello students, in the previous class we have done up to mutations. We have done about the mutations, various types of mutations, point mutation, frame shift mutation, then silent mutation. In this figure you are seeing here the frame shift mutation. So it is a change in the reading frame because of the insertion of base pairs. Now in this diagram you are seeing the addition of this guanine. So the sequence of base pairs that is being changed, and if the sequence or frame is changed, reading frame is changed, then the sequence of amino acid is also changed. Now we will start with the topic, that is translation. So what is translation? Translation is the process of synthesis of proteins from messenger RNA with the help of ribosomes. A translational unit in mRNA from 5' to 3' comprises of a start codon, region coding for a polypeptide, a stop codon, and untranslated regions, that is UTRs, at both the 5' end and 3' end for efficient process. Now what are the steps of protein synthesis? So the steps are, first is initiation, then we have elongation, and third step we have the termination. Now first step is initiation. In prokaryotes, initiation requires the large and small ribosome subunits, the messenger RNA, initiation transfer RNA, initiation factors. Now here our first step in the initiation is activation of amino acids. Now in this you are seeing here amino acid plus ATP, that is forming amino acid AMP enzyme complex plus inorganic phosphate. In the presence of enzyme amino acyl transfer RNA synthetase. The second step here is transfer of amino acid to tRNA, and this AAAMP enzyme complex combines with transfer RNA to form amino acid transfer RNA plus AMP plus enzyme plus inorganic phosphate. So when the small subunit ribosome encounters mRNA, translation begins. The ribosome has two sites, P site and A site, that is peptidyl site and amino acyl site. The small subunit of ribosome attaches to the large subunit and the initiation codon comes on the P site. Now second step is elongation of polypeptide chain. Now in this repeated cycle of amino acid delivery is there, then peptide bond formation and movement along the mRNA, that is translocation, is there. So a second tRNA charged with an appropriate amino acid binds to the A site to the ribosome. A peptide bond is formed between the carboxyl group of methionine and the amino group of the second amino acid, and this reaction is catalyzed by the enzyme peptidyl transferase. The ribosome moves from codon to codon along the mRNA in the 5' to 3' direction. Amino acids are added one by one in the sequence of the codons and become joined to form peptide together to form polypeptide. Now next step is termination, that is the release of a polypeptide chain. Now when one of the termination codon comes at the A site, it does not code for any amino acid and there is no transfer RNA molecule for it. As a result, polypeptide synthesis stops. So the polypeptide synthesized is released from the ribosome, catalyzed by a release factor. Now here is the diagram which is showing this elongation of a polypeptide, or you can say that the translation process. Now in this diagram what you are seeing here, mRNA is there, messenger RNA having the base pair sequences. Then you are seeing here the smaller subunit of ribosome is there, then larger subunit joined together, and you are seeing here the different sites, A site and P site. So in this you are seeing here growing polypeptide chain and new tRNA which is bringing the new amino acid, and the released tRNA and the coming this transfer RNA according to the sequence of codons on the mRNA. Now these are the translation steps. So here you are seeing all the steps, that is initiation, elongation and termination. In prokaryotes, initiation requires the large and small ribosome units, the mRNA, initiation transfer RNA and 3 initiation factors, that is IFs. Now activation of amino acid is there in the first step, that is the initiation process. Amino acids become activated by binding with amino acyl transfer RNA synthetase enzyme in the presence of ATP. That is, amino acid binds with ATP in the presence of enzyme amino acyl transfer RNA synthetase, forming amino acid AMP enzyme complex plus organic phosphate. Now transfer of amino acids to tRNA. The amino acid AMP enzyme complex formed react with specific transfer RNA to form amino acyl transfer RNA complex. Now the ribosome has 2 sites, A site and P site. So in this you are seeing here the third site also, that is exit site, E site also. So the smaller subunit of ribosome first binds to the initiator mRNA and then binds to the larger subunit, so that initiation codon AUG lies on the P site, that is the peptidyl site. The initiation transfer RNA, that is methionine transfer RNA, then binds to the P site. Second step is elongation of polypeptide chain. Another charged amino acyl transfer RNA complex binds to the A site of the ribosome at the second codon. A peptide bond is formed between carboxyl group, that is COOH of amino acid at the P site, and amino group of amino acid at the A site by the enzyme peptidyl transferase. The ribosome slides over messenger RNA from codon to codon in the 5' to 3' direction. According to the sequence of codons, amino acids are attached to one another by peptide bonds and a polypeptide chain is formed. Third step is termination of polypeptide. So when the A site of ribosome reaches a termination codon which does not code for any amino acid, no charged transfer RNA binds to the A site. So dissociation of polypeptide from ribosome takes place, which is catalyzed by a release factor. There are 3 termination codons, and these are UGA, UAG and UAA. Now next topic is regulation of gene expression. So regulation of gene expression means controlling the amount and time of formation of gene products according to the requirements of the cell. In prokaryotes, the gene expression is controlled by the initiation of transcription. In eukaryotes, the regulation can be exerted at 4 levels. First is transcriptional level, that is formation of primary transcript. Then second is processing level, that is splicing. Then third is transport of mRNA from nucleus to the cytoplasm, and fourth is translational level. The regulation at transcriptional level, it was elucidated by Jacob and Monod. All the genes controlling one metabolic pathway constitute an operon. So what is operon? All the genes controlling one metabolic pathway constitute an operon. The concept of operon was first proposed in 1961 by Jacob and Monod. So what are the components of an operon? First, structural gene. Then second, we have promoter, operator, regulator gene and inducer. So here are the various types of operons are there: lac operon, tryptophan operon, valine operon, etc. So what are structural genes now? Structural genes transcribe the mRNA for the amino acid sequence of proteins. Second is promoter gene. The promoter gene is a sequence of DNA where the RNA polymerase binds and initiates transcription. Third is operator. The operator is a sequence of bases on DNA adjacent to the promoter. The accessibility of promoter gene for RNA polymerase is regulated by proteins called repressor. In most cases, a specific repressor protein binds to the operator. Now fourth is regulator gene. This codes for the repressor protein that binds to the operator and switches off the transcription unit. So the regulatory gene is also represented as I gene, or we can say that inhibitory gene. Fifth is inducer. The substance or substrate that prevents the repressor from binding to the operator is called an inducer. It keeps the switch on and transcription continues. Now we have lac operon. Lac operon in E. coli. In conditions when lactose is the only source of carbon in the environment, the bacteria synthesize the beta-galactosidase enzyme that breaks down the lactose into glucose and galactose. Lac operon consists of 1 regulatory gene I and 3 structural gene, that is Y, Z and A. Gene I codes for the repressor of the lac operon. The Z gene code for beta-galactosidase, that is responsible for hydrolysis of disaccharide lactose into monomeric units galactose and glucose. Gene Y codes for permease, which increases permeability of the cell. Gene A encode for trans-acetylase. Now what is the function of trans-acetylase? It catalyzes the trans-acetylation of lactose in its active form. And then inducer, lactose acts as an inducer. It regulates switching on and off of the operon. Now first we will be discussing in the presence of inducer, or we can say that when lactose is present. Lactose acts as an inducer which binds to the repressor and forms an inactive repressor. The repressor fails to bind to the operator region. The RNA polymerase binds to the operator and transcribes lac messenger RNA. The lac messenger RNA is polycistronic, that is, produces all 3 enzymes: beta-galactosidase, permease and trans-acetylase. The lac operon is switched on. Now, second is when lactose is absent, or we can say that in absence of inducer. When lactose is absent, I gene regulates and produces repressor mRNA which translate repression. The repressor protein binds to the operator region of the operon and as a result prevent RNA polymerase to bind to the operon. The operon is switched off. Now here you are seeing the diagram. In this you are seeing the effect in the absence of inducer also, or in the presence of inducer also. Now in absence of inducer, what you are seeing here, the repressor protein binds to the operator region of the operon and as a result prevents RNA polymerase to bind to the operon. And here you are seeing here the operon is switched off. And in second case, in presence of inducer, what you are observing here, lactose acts as an inducer which binds to the repressor and forms an inactive repressor. The repressor fails to bind to the operator region. The RNA polymerase binds to the operator and transcribes mRNA, and this mRNA is polycistronic and it is producing all the three types of enzymes: beta-galactosidase, permease and trans-acetylase. And the lac operon is switched on. So here I am again telling you the functions of what is the function of beta-galactosidase. We also call it as B-gal. So this beta-galactosidase or B-gal that catalyzes the hydrolysis of lactose into galactose and glucose. Then second enzyme, permease, it increases the permeability of the cell to beta-galactosides, that is lactose. Third enzyme, trans-acetylase, it catalyzes the trans-acetylation of lactose into its active form. Now next is Human Genome Project. So it is also a very important topic. So Human Genome Project, this project was a 13-year project and was launched in the year 1990 and completed in 2003. So this project was coordinated by the US Department of Energy and the National Institute of Health. So during the early years of the project, the Wellcome Trust UK became a major partner. Other countries like Japan, Germany, China and France contributed significantly. Now what was the aim of this Human Genome Project? Its aim was to find out the complete DNA sequences of the human genome. Yes, the aim of Human Genome Project was to find out the complete DNA sequences of the human genome. The two factors that made this possible are, first is genetic engineering techniques, with which it was possible to isolate and clone any segment of DNA. And second is availability of simple and fast techniques for determining the DNA sequences. Now next is why Human Genome Project was called Mega Project. The reasons are, first reason, the human genome has approximately 3.3 into 10 raised to the power 9 base pairs. If the cost of sequencing is $3 per base pair, the approximate cost is about $9 billions. Second reason is if the sequences obtained were to be stored in typed form in books, and if each page contained 1000 letters and each book contained 1000 pages, then 3300 such books would be needed to store the complete information. Third reason, the enormous quantity of data expected to be generated also necessitates the use of high-speed computational devices for data storage, retrieval, and analysis. The project was closely associated with new branch of biology which is called as bioinformatics. Now, what are the goals of Human Genome Project? Some major or important goals of Human Genome Project are: first is identify all the genes, approximately 20,000 to 25,000 in human DNA. Second is determine the sequences of the 3 billion base pairs present in human DNA. Third is store this information in databases. Fourth is improve the tools for data analysis. Fifth, transfer the technologies to other sectors like industries. Sixth point is address the ethical, legal, and social issues that may arise from this project. Now, what are the methodologies of Human Genome Project? The method involved two major approaches. First is expressed sequence tags. So one approach called as expressed sequence tags, ESTs, focused on identifying all the genes that expressed as RNA. Second is sequence annotation. Yes, second approach called as sequence annotation was to simply sequence the whole set of genome that included all the coding and non-coding sequences and later assigning functions to different regions in the sequence. Now, these are the steps for sequencing of genome. Now, first is isolation of DNA from cell, then breakdown of DNA as fragments, cloning of DNA fragments in suitable host using suitable vectors. So here we can use BAC, that is bacterial artificial chromosome, as a vector, and yeast artificial chromosome. So when yeast is used as a vector. Then sequencing of DNA by automated DNA sequencer, which was developed by Frederick Sanger. Then arranging the sequences on the basis of overlapping regions on DNA fragments. Then alignment of the sequences of specialized computer-based programs. Construction of genetic and physical maps of the genome. Now, what are the salient features of human genome? Now, following are some of the salient observations derived from Human Genome Project. The human genome contains 3,164.7 million nucleotide bases. Second is the average gene consists of 3,000 bases, but sizes vary greatly, with the largest known human gene being dystrophin at 2.4 million bases. Then less than 2% of the genome codes for proteins. Repeated sequences make up very large portion of the human genome. Repetitive sequences are stretches of DNA sequences that are repeated many times, sometimes 100 to 1000 times. Chromosome 1 has most genes, that is 2968, and the Y gene has the fewest gene, that is 231. Scientists have identified about 1.4 million locations where single base DNA sequence differences called SNPs or single nucleotide polymorphism occur in humans. The repeated sequence have no direct coding functions, but they throw light on chromosome structures, dynamics and evolutions. The total number of genes is about 30,000 and 99% nucleotide bases are exactly the same in all people. Now here you are seeing a representative diagram of Human Genome Project. Now what are the applications and future challenges of Human Genome Project? First, complete sequence of human genome when properly studied will enable to develop radically new approach to biological research. Second is all the genes in a genome and transcripts in a particular tissue, organ and tumor can be studied. Third is it enables us to understand how enormous number of genes and proteins work together. Now next is RISE Genome Project. So the International RISE Genome Sequencing Project, that is IRGSP, began in September 1997 at a workshop held in conjunction with the International Symposium on Plant Molecular Biology in Singapore. RISE genome sequencing is being conducted along the same lines as numerous other large-scale genome sequencing projects. Large insert genomic libraries used as the primary sequencing templates are constructed in bacterial artificial chromosomes. One of the initial motivators for sequencing RISE, besides the relatively small genome size, was that it could be used as a model for other cereal crops with larger genomes such as maize and wheat. This was predicted somewhat on rice, small genome size and the realization from molecular mapping. That is, example is RFLPs, restriction fragment length polymorphism of conserved markers and marker order. The availability of the RISE genome together with the community annotation and other resources that added functionality transformed genetic research and rice breeding. फ्रेम कर देंगे